Yeah, so welcome to an episode of Mental Injustice. This is probably going to be my favourite episode I've been looking forward to, talking about Luke Brown and his success story. Partly the reason why I'm here, Unlock My Life as well. So yeah, I just want to introduce everyone, Mitch and Aaron and Luke. Luke, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Luke Brown. Currently been working with Unlock My Life for around about a year and a half. Served a 5-year IPP sentence. Just done 11 years and recently got out.
Cool. Aaron?
My name's Aaron. I work with Unlock My Life. I'm a prison lead team member, and yeah, I'm happy to be part of the team.
Mitch?
Yeah, my name's Mitch. Done these podcasts before, like Chappie, looking forward to this one. Got Big B in the house. Yeah, interested to hear how it's been for him and all he's got to say. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Cool. So yeah, moving forward, I suppose the first thing is welcome back.
Yeah, man, good to be here.
Thank you as well. I think all of us, you're the reason this all started. So first of all, thank you. And first question is your sentence, the initial time you get in it to kind of a timeline of where you are now, touching on getting arrested, going to court, the prisons you've been to, and your journey basically. How has it been?
Yeah, man, so definitely been a roller coaster to say the least. I feel like when we're all kind of young, we've got our own kind of expectations of what prison could be like. And then there's obviously the reality of what prison is like. So when I committed my index offence, I knew from when I committed my crime that I definitely was going to get caught for it, and I was definitely going to get a custodial sentence. I suppose I just felt apprehensive. I felt like, I wish I could turn back time. All of them phrases that we have at the time where we feel like we could have done the right thing, but obviously I didn't do the right thing. So yeah, I literally just felt like I'd been taken off the face of the earth. I was going somewhere that was unknown, new territory for me. I feel like I kind of put a mask on from the jump, and that was like a defensive thing, like a self-coping mechanism. Kind of, we've all been brought up with them traits, like, want to be a man, we don't want to back down from people. If somebody hits you, you hit them back. So I was brought up with the same kind of morals. And yeah, I just felt like it was new to me, and my expectations were kind of, I just thought it was going to be horrible, to be honest with you. And the transition of kind of being out in the public to being secluded somewhere in a place where you don't want to be, it's like my frame of mind kind of went into autopilot to kind of deal with it.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a lot of denial going on as well. So it's like I was living my everyday life like it was a dream. It wasn't a reality. And then obviously I was given my custodial sentence. I was on remand at first. I was given a 5-year IPP sentence. At the time, I didn't really understand the logistics of it. I kind of thought that I'd serve 5 years and that'd be me.
And you'd be out.
Yeah, like I was surrounded by people that had a little bit more experience, knew about the system, and they was telling me that I wasn't going to serve 5 years, I was going to do a lot longer. But me, because I was so stubborn at the time and immature, I kind of told myself that I was going to do 5 years and that was it. I'd be out, I'd be with my family, everything could go back to normal. And what a reality check it was, because things didn't turn out exactly how I thought they was gonna. And that just led to my roller coaster of a journey.
What happened at the 5-year point? So you've done your 5 years now.
Yeah.
The point you thought you was getting out, then what happened?
So basically, when I got to the 5-year point, because of numerous nickings, fighting, security intel, being involved in things, being involved in gangs at the beginning of my sentence, like, I kind of knew in my head that I wasn't going to get my first parole due to my actions, due to the way that I was conducting myself within the prison establishment. And then I feel like because of the expectation of not getting it,
Yeah.
and then that becoming a reality, I feel like that's when it started to hit me. That's when the cogs started turning, the pennies started dropping, and I thought to myself, like, I'm in this now, this is real, this isn't a joke, this is, you know, a massive implication on my life, my family's life. And I feel like it got to the point where I even kind of started like locking off. Like I wasn't ringing as much, I wasn't writing as much letters, I wasn't making as much as an effort as I probably should have done. Not because I'd lost respect for my family, not because I'd forgot about anyone, but that's just what I needed to do for myself to get through the sentence.
I recognise that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So there's reality, which is on the out, and then there's what I call fantasy almost in prison. Because it's not a real example of how life is, how people are. We all know prison is practically a stage for any of us to be whoever we want to be.
Yeah, facts.
And the reason that I say that is because we don't know each other. None of us know each other like that. So I don't know if you're a joiner, a car mechanic, a top old school gangster, a shotter. I don't know them things. So it's a platform for people to try to be whatever they want to be. So because I was stuck in this time frame and this bubble, I decided to kind of separate the two. So I had my life in prison, and then my life on the outside had obviously been put on pause.
Yeah.
So I was just dealing with the life that I had. And yeah.
So, when you got your sentence, as you know, we all go through mental health in jail. Would you say your mental health was... would you say when you got sentenced you had mental health? Would you say when you didn't get your parole at 5 years, would you say your mental health got worse?
100%. It had a massive impact on my mental health because, as I was saying to you before, my mental health at the beginning, the only thing that I could put it down to would be denial. That's how my mental health was. I was in denial about everything. And then, you know, when you scratch the surface and it becomes a reality, that's when it started impacting me. And I was struggling. I did go through depression, I did go through anxiety, I did go through certain aspects and certain cycles to where I had to really get to know myself, because not only are we in an environment full of people that we don't know, when you're that age, going through adolescence, becoming a man, you don't really know yourself. You feel like you know yourself,
yeah,
but
but
you don't really know yourself.
Yeah.
So it was a journey of trying to take in what was going on around me and seeing the best way to kind of orchestrate myself within that, but then also on this self-discovery journey of who Luke is at the same time.
You're growing up in prison.
Literally that. And I don't know if anyone else can relate to this. I've told my family this many a times. There was two different sides to me. There was Brownie, who was a prisoner, who looked out for himself, protected himself, and definitely wasn't the best version of me. But then also there's Luke as well, which is a son, a brother, somebody that's got respect, somebody that's got a kind heart and wants to help people. But I feel like because I was stuck in the lane of being Brownie, that kind of took over. And that wasn't the best interpretation of who I am. And now I fully understand when a lot of people say to me, Mitch, you just said it to me today, when you first met me, you said that we didn't really gel too well because of you met Brownie. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's my armoured plate that I'd put on to protect myself, not to be a bad boy.
It's just a coping mechanism.
Yeah, that was a protective thing of Luke. I was protecting Luke. So it's like two different sides of a coin almost.
And going back to what you said, you've just touched on it now, but at the beginning you said when you got your sentence, you almost found a persona. Maybe it's your road persona, but you said you found a persona that you adapted to jail. Mm-hmm. And you said, I think you said something else, but what did that look like? What was that persona, and how were you going about your day-to-day?
Very hostile, not very forthcoming, a big-time analyst. I used to do a lot of analysing. As I say, we were surrounded in a place where we don't really know anyone. I feel like I was impulsive. My thought process wasn't there. I'd act on impulse all of the time. I feel like consequences, at the time I didn't really think about them. So long and short of it, practically every shit aspect of who I can be and not who I necessarily want to be.
Sorry,
Makes sense.
I'm dipping in and dipping out, but
Mhm.
this resonates to me. You know, you mentioned you analysing. We all do it. That's how we get about in life. You have to analyse the situation and people.
Mhm.
But do you think the analysing at that time, at the beginning of your sentence, do you think that touched on your mental health, and do you think that carried on through your sentence? Because explain what you mean about an analyst, because I know what you mean, but
For like the listeners, so people that they've done prison necessarily.
Yeah, so basically, what I do, every time that I got onto a unit, I go to my cell, I put my items and belongings and my property into my cell, and straight away I did the same thing every day I went to. I'd go straight to the banister, I'd lean over the banister, I'd look at the unit, look at how it plays out, look at the different types of people on the unit, and then I try to break things down in my own head. And not necessarily I always got it right. A lot of the times I get it wrong. But that was a way of, it's like a game of chess, basically. And I'd be eyeing up the pieces to where I think that, all right, cool, maybe I can interact with this circle of people. Maybe I should stay away from this group of people.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
100%.
and as I've just stated then, I did get it wrong a lot of the times, like we all do. We all get it wrong a lot of the times, but in another sense, it has saved me in certain situations, because when I did get it right, I've been able to put things into kind of perspective where I think, all right, cool, I won't allow that person to get so close to me. I won't go sit with that person and have food with them. Like, do you know what I mean? So it helped me and it didn't help me, but that's the only way that I could really explain.
It's funny you say that, because I 100% agree with that, and I've done a lot less time obviously, but in Wandsworth I think the first thing I done randomly, not knowing I've done it, but now you said it, is I did look over the banister and I stayed by my door because I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I looked around. I'd already done 7 weeks a long time ago, so it kind of took the edge off, but I looked around straight away and thought, who do I need to be wary of? Like, and no one thinks of that, is that culture that goes on the wings, and you know, you start thinking, right, I need to get this, so I need to kind of align myself with that group, or who's doing surgery, for example. I think if you've done a lot of prison, I used to watch people come back into, because I was on induction wing, and you just knew the ones that have done prison loads of times. Because straight away they're wrapping themselves around a number one, or they're like, they pull it on the number one on the surgery, be like, listen, this is what I need. Before they get into the surgery, because they've done prison, they know to go and talk to the person who does the clothes or kit change, or and you forget about all that. So definitely that kind of resonates with me
Just
a little bit.
One. You talking about this persona and this facade you put on, yeah? We was talking about it the other day on our last podcast. Do you feel, I'll go back to opening and closing the door. When that door gets closed, do you feel like you go into a bubble, and then when you come out and the door's open, you're like, what's happening? Do you do all of that?
Yeah, I feel like, so with the persona thing, I feel like that'd be the whole time that I'd be on the exercise yard, on free flow, in education, in the workshops, on the landing, on the wing. I feel like that persona would always be there. But then, funnily enough, what you're mentioning there, when I went back behind the door, it didn't necessarily just drop. It happened over a period of time where subconsciously in my brain, I'd know, because that door's locked, I'm safe now. The door's locked, it's just me, and I would let go a little bit, and I would become Luke a little bit. But then I'd also at the same time be kind of self-talking in my head. Oh, this is weak, this is a sign of weakness. Luke's not gonna get you through this. Like, remember, you need to be X, Y, and Z, which I never really needed to be, but I felt like I did at the time. So yeah, and then it'd be the opposite aspect, whereas I know it's coming to morning roll check now, we're getting out, and I'd be putting on my trainers and my tracksuit, and I'd be overly tying my laces just in case it kicked off, or I'd tie my bottoms super tight so they weren't gonna fall down, or like there'd be certain things that I'd do to ensure that I know I have my own back.
Safety.
I would never ever walk to the shower in my sliders. I'd see that as a very vulnerable thing.
Right.
I would always wear my trainers and I'd take my sliders in my bag. In DCAT, in open conditions, not a problem. We're all trying to go home. We're all in that same bubble of wanting to progress. So them things don't really come into your mind. But when you're in the Cat Bs, the Cat Cs, that's how my mentality was.
So moving on then, so you've gone to 5-7 years, you've got your first knockback. How's the second knockback, and how does that start feeling? What happens there? And then the progression to DCAT?
I feel like that's when everything kind of started to sink in. And the thing that is sad about it is, to be honest with you, if you want me to be honest...
Yeah, I do.
It was painful for my family because I knew they weren't going to see me again. It was painful for them to think, oh, Luke's not coming out for another 2 years, and it hurt me. But you know, for me myself, sadly, I wasn't that bothered. Strangely enough, for myself, I wasn't really that bothered because it's all I knew. It's where I've been brought up. It was accustomed to me. It was normality to me. So because of all them reasons, I didn't really care about myself too much. But having a phone call with my mum or my sister or my dad, and I can hear them being upset and emotional, and then they're trying to hold that pain and saying to me, don't worry, Luke, you'll get it next time. But I can hear the pain. I know my family. I know if they're struggling. And that's what made it hard. And sometimes I don't want to use the word deluded, but I was that set in my own ways. I used to actually say to myself, if I didn't have a family, this would be a walk in the park for me. And that's the scariest thing about it. Because who wants to be stuck in jail? Who wants to be kept away from normal society? Do you know what I mean?
I think for both of us, correct me if I'm wrong, you have to become desensitized to it. Because as we know, there's many people that are still on our sentence, done as long as me and you, and they're still in Cat B, Cat A.
Yeah.
And people say to me, like my Cody, for instance, he's still in Woody Law, one of them jails. How do you feel about the whole desensitized issue, specific to your sentence?
It's funny because I was speaking about this to a friend the other day, and there's been a couple of altercations that have happened in front of me, not necessarily to do with me. Like I've seen somebody get run over, a few situations, and literally like everyone's like, oh my God, like what's just happened? And I'm just stood there like looking at the person. And then somebody turned around to me and said like, are you not fazed by this? Do you not want to help out? And then it clicked in my head. I thought, yeah, I should be helping. Maybe I should ask the person if they're alright. Maybe I should offer to phone an ambulance. But because I've been used to being in that cycle of seeing people get chefed up, seeing people get hot watered, taking part in them situations, being involved in a lot of things that are gruesome and not very nice, it does make you desensitized. And it's only now that I've been out for a little bit that I can check myself. I'm more self-aware now, so I can think, hang on, this is not how a normal person would deal with this. Maybe I need to start learning them factors again, or putting myself in a situation where I am dealing with it normally and correctly, instead of just thinking it's like some TV show.
And how's that going? That whole, because I think it's a phase. It's not just going to happen.
Yeah.
But how's that going for you? Becoming, you use the words normal, but I think that's not quite right, because what you've been through, not everyone's been through.
Yeah, of course, it's not a normal situation, is it?
But how's that process going of switching your emotions back on, I guess?
I feel like I'm getting there. I'm definitely getting there. Obviously, as you can understand, 11 years is a long time. When you're being set in a certain type of way for that amount of time, it becomes accustomed to you. But I feel like I'm slowly getting there. I do care more. I don't know if you guys have noticed, like I've been away from you lot for what, like 5 months now? And I am more humble. I feel like I can be Luke more. I feel like I can kind of let myself go a little bit, and not everybody's watching me. Do you know what I mean?
So would you say that's because you're not in prison no more?
Yeah, that's because I'm on the other side now, and you know, life out there is, there's more important things going on other than if somebody thinks that I'm about it or not. You know, you've got living, you've got family, building them bonds, building them ties, you've got finances, the gym,
stuff.
if that's your thing, the important things. And even now, you know what I was like, the gym was my whole life while I was in prison. It's not so much now. I love the gym, I'll always have a love for it, but there's more important things going on. So I do feel like I'm definitely learning to be a little bit looser.
Biceps still look good.
Oh, alright,
Still
okay.
there.
They're like 90s, get me by.
So as soon as we're on a lighter note, I suppose when the things start going in a positive direction, so you're at DCAT, you've got your parole, how did that feel? How did it feel for you and your family? And then what was your DCAT
man.
journey like till now?
It was brilliant. It was the most best feeling that I've ever felt, not just for me, but for my family as well. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and I was questioning it. I was like, is it true? If they made a mistake, are they going to put a letter through my door and say this isn't true? Like, all of these things were kind of running through my mind. But this is going back to, remember when I said that about finding myself and self-discovery?
Yeah.
The only reason that I got into DCAT in the first place is because it was actually during coronavirus. That's when I started to break things down. I started to write things down on paper. I started to write what Luke wants from life and where I want to be and how I want to be seen by my family and make them proud. And that's when I started to knuckle down, get positives, go out of my way to make sure that I got to DCAT, eventually got that transition, got to DCAT, and then guess what, boys? It started all over again. Because now I'm in a place where I've got freedom, yeah? I landed with my bags in the reception, yeah? They checked me in, they checked my property, and I just stood there. And the screw's like, what are you doing? And I was like, can you open the door? He's like, no, mate, open it yourself. He's like, go to the unit. You're on this unit, go to the unit
Go
yourself.
find it.
And I was baffled. I was like, whoa. And guess what happened? I don't want to be here. I don't like it. Send me back. Like, I want to go back to where I was. All of these stupid thoughts. Yeah, because it's what I knew. And I had the safety net. And I knew what it was and not what it could be. And do you know what I mean? All of them things kind of come into play. But then somebody, thank God, who come with me from the mount, he was like, look, Brownie, it's normal for you to be feeling like this. Take it in. Let's go again tomorrow and see how you feel then.
So this was day one, you were saying that?
This was day one. This was on the first day.
In reception?
In reception.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In reception. Yeah. So,
And then, so you're there, you've got used to it, leading up to your parole, you're going on home leaves, how does that feel? How's that for you and your family interacting?
oh man, it was...
I'm sure it's emotional.
It was the best feeling ever. My mum and a friend, and then two of my closest friends from primary, they come to pick me up, and it was just surreal. It was like a dream. It was like, I felt like I wasn't entitled to it. I felt like it was so much of a privilege that I didn't deserve it.
You feel like you're cheating?
Yeah, I felt like I was cheating. I felt like I might have escaped by accident. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy.
I'm trying
Do you know what's crazy about it though?
Right.
It's funny how life works out, because I remember that day ever so clearly, and I was actually leading the pack. I was taking the reins. I was telling people where to go, what we're gonna do, let's go to this shop. I was the one who felt super duper confident.
Well, that was my question. Was you nervous? Was you...
No, but it all come after that.
Yeah.
It all come after.
You're
At first,
autopilot.
I was on autopilot. And then I'd say probably my first or maybe second home leave, that's when the anxiety started to come in. That's when I was overthinking everything. You know, like a little thing like a vending machine. Vending machines wasn't touchscreen before I come to prison. You type in your little
that.
B with your number 9, the little spiral thing would spin, and you get your little chocolate bar. Now this shit was looking like Da Vinci Code. I could not even work it out. And guess what? I went to an old lady who usually in life would say to you as a young man,
help me.
Could you just help me out with this? I was like, excuse me, could you help me out with this? And like, yeah, just overthinking things, or like, I don't know, if I went to go buy some food for all of us, I'd be like, what do you want, this, that and the other. I'd get to the bar and I'd just have blockers. I'd forget what everyone wanted. I'd make a mountain out of a molehill. It wasn't really that deep, but to me, I'd overemphasize it and worry myself. Yeah.
B, on continuing from that question.
Can I just interrupt you just for one question? I know your mum's in the room, but obviously you've been away from women all that time.
Yeah.
Boys listening to this, the listeners, I know a lot of people that done a lot of burn. They're going to be like, what about the girlfriend? Or how did that look? How did it feel? No, not in too much detail.
No, we'll keep it PG.
Yeah.
But I feel like in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get with this girl, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do whatever. But when there's a reality of a woman stood in front of you that you've not been around for that long, like I was checking myself, I was like, how does she like me? Does she think I'm like nice personality? Do you know what I mean? Like all of these things, the confidence was zero. It was zero. My first, let's say, interaction with a woman, I don't mind saying I'm a grown man. I was nervous. I was so unbelievably nervous. Like, it was mad. But then it's like anything, innit? You get used to these things; they become normality.
Yeah.
And I think you build things up, don't you?
You do.
You build things up to your 11 years in of whatever you want to call it, and it's not quite reality. I'm not saying it's not as bad or not as good, but it's not reality in your head.
Yeah, literally. And you've got high expectations of yourself. I mean, I'm not being funny, like in jail I was this big guy who was probably lifting the most weights in the gym, and I was fit and all of these things that, you know, I had a lot of confidence, but that's a different ball game. Forget about the gym, forget about cardio, forget about fitness, forget about weights. This is real life shit.
Real talk.
You're with a woman, you're interacting, you have to cater for their needs, you've got to speak to them correctly. Like, it was a lot to kind of take in.
Been 9 years, no?
It's a very long time.
And I don't think people, especially people that haven't been to prison, even myself, you don't appreciate that stuff. And so that brings me on to the next thing, I suppose, is what would you say to people that are like, jail ain't jail. They should be in there. They should do longer sentences. They deserve to be there. It's too easy for them. I don't. What do you say to those people that are like, what have you been through, the stuff they haven't seen and been through and emotionally?
I'd say to them people that kind of have that thought process and mentality, the first and foremost thing that you need to think about is, as well as prison's a place for punishment, it's also a place for rehabilitation. So before you start stepping the mark and saying, oh, they deserve it, they're a scumbag, they've done this, I've never broken the law, I've only had a speeding ticket, they beat someone up in the middle of the street, I get it, I understand it. However, prison is meant to be a place that's designed to take away them old school thoughts and patterns of behaviour and things that we've grown up around and we've become accustomed to, and you're meant to be rehabilitating, you're meant to be trying to get into a job, getting a better education, learning how to manage money, learning how to be a good father, look after your kids. All of these things are meant to be implicated, otherwise what is the point of prison?
And does that happen in prison? In your experience, can I talk on your behalf?
It doesn't. I can only go off by what I've lived, and all they care about, for a person especially that's IPP, because that's all I can go off by, that's all I've ever been, is jumping through hoops, doing these courses that they put out for us to do. And if you want me to be honest, I have taken skills from courses, but at the same time it's bullshit. I'll be real about it, it's bullshit. If you give a sector of the coursework that we have to do in regards to, I don't know, SCP, victim awareness, whatever, to a normal member of public, they'd find it laughable.
Yeah.
I think they would actually find it laughable.
I think they'd be offended to know that victim awareness pack, especially during COVID, you do it on paper.
That they've spent all their tax money on.
Millions and millions, for what?
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And apparently if I don't complete this piece of paper or this course, I'm not deemed suitable to be in society. However, you haven't taught me any skills about managing money, you haven't taught me any skills about employment, you haven't taught me anything that's going to allow me to be out there and move correctly and get on with my life, but you want me to do a tick box, and apparently that's all good. I don't think so, man. It don't work.
So where do you say Unlock's helped you with that then, as a charity, bridging the gap at DCAT?
So Unlock... sorry about that. Unlock coming into the prison was like it was a blessing and a disguise for me. I've never been so keen in wanting to get involved and actually rubbing my hands together thinking, finally, something that I can relate to, something that I can give back to, something that I can get involved with. And I'm not gonna lie, initially, just like all of us do, being in prison, I thought, is this too good to be true? Is this gonna last? Is it gonna be something that just pops up this month and it's gone the next? And, you know, I was told by the team that it wasn't gonna be that, and we're here to stay. And there's things that we can do and there's changes that we can make. And, you know, if you wanna tell your story to either inspire other people or even just give people an indication of what your journey's been about and what you've been through, it's a brilliant thing. And I was all for being involved with that.
And so, how has it helped, like in some of the stuff you've done that the prison or probation service wouldn't have been there to do?
I feel like it's give people a little bit of a ray of hope. I feel like there's still a lot of, you know, people thinking like, is this gonna work? You know, like, why do I want to be involved in this? But all you have to do is, like anything, you just got to give it time. Give it time, understand that they are here to help, they do want to make changes. You know, like, we're rewriting mental health policies in prisons. Like,
It's unheard of.
it's made by prisoners, for prisoners. It's our input. It's not the governors, the CMs coming to us saying, look, we want you to do this. We're coming forward ourselves and saying that we want to do this because we want to help other people. I mean, how much more positive can you get? Do you know what I mean? And then not just that, look at the cycle now, look at the journey. Like, I was having conversations with Richard a year ago about, you know, he's saying that he still wanted to work with me on the out, and there was no mention about an office or anything like that, but like, I've got my own office in the city centre.
What do you do up there then? Just talking about your office and your work now in Leeds, how does that look?
So basically, I'm kind of like the man on the ground.
Yeah.
I've been making a personal journal about my cycles of being in the contrast from being a prisoner to being released. Everything that I've had to kind of go through, whether it's housing, finances, probation, living, just every kind of aspect of what it's like on the journey from release to now. And to be honest with you guys, it's not what you think it is out there. It's hard work out there. Nothing's handed to you on a plate. You've got to go out there, you've got to self-source. And I feel like me working with this project is the reason why I'm dealing with it so good now, because that's the line of work that we do.
Yeah.
We network, we signpost, we look for other organisations, we look for different alternative routes to break down any hurdles or you know, kind of obstacles that are in the way. So I feel like if I hadn't have got that from here, if I didn't have this job, if I didn't have a sense of purpose, Lord knows what I'd be doing.
B, what would you say to someone playing devil's advocate that says that's the way it is for people out there, it's hard out there, there is no support? What would you say to someone who says that to you coming out as a long-term prisoner? Firstly, is that support there? And then what would you say to them?
I'd say the support's not there. It's hard for anybody that's being released from prison, especially somebody that serves such a long time. I'd say that there needs to be more procedures put in place of the reality of what it is on the out, and, you know, kind of preparation for people to be able to think, right, it is going to be a struggle. I might not get my housing. I might struggle to get a job. I've got a criminal record at the end of the day. Like, I think these things need to be imposed into people more so that people have a better opportunity of being able to prepare for that.
Yeah, and a better understanding, because as you know, we're all the same. We see you can do this course, you can do that course, and it will get you X, Y, Z. That's not the reality in the real world.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah, but I think almost like you're setting many people up to fail.
Yeah, literally. And the worst thing is for me as well, even though working with Unlock My Life for me personally has been a positive and has helped me, it actually hindered me on the out. Because, reason being, he's got a part-time job. He's got his own office in the city centre. He's got all his equipment. We don't need to help him. But hang on a minute. The only reason that I have them things is because I went out there and I got it. I volunteered to work for the project. I put everything that I had into it, and luckily I was given an opportunity to work for them. Now, the point that I'm making is, it seems like out there, they kind of want you to have nothing. They want you to be addicted to drugs. They want you to be seriously struggling before they offer any sort of additional help, which I understand everybody needs support, everybody needs help, everyone's circumstances are different. But the point I'm making is, the government know that there's massive statistics on people coming back to prison, but then the people that want to be proactive, the people that want to change, the people that want to better their life are being put on a back burner. No, we don't need to help you right now because we need to help Jimmy over here.
And regarding what certain aspects did you want help with and you feel it lacked?
I mean, at the end of the day, from what they say on paper, I'm a high-risk violent offender that served a mini-life sentence, but you don't want to help me and you're cool with me just wandering the streets of Leeds.
And that's the way it would have been?
Practically, yeah. In fact, I would have got recalled. that's what would happen. So I did my 12-week period in the hostel. When that time was up, if I didn't have accommodation and I was homeless, I'd be sent back to prison on recall on the basis that I'm a danger to society. But you've put me in a situation. I understand I did what I did and I put myself in prison.
But we're moving forward.
But we're trying to move forward. Like, how am I meant to implement these things myself without any sort of help? I mean, I have done because I've got support of family. Luckily, and I've got good friends and whatnot, but not a lot of people have that. So what about the people that don't?
And how was that mentally, going through all of that?
I mean, you lot seen the stress firsthand.
Yeah.
I was stressed out. I was overthinking. I was worrying. I was panicky. It wasn't a nice feeling. I felt like I was backed up in a corner. And luckily, because I've matured, because I've got good people around me, everyone is always there for me. You're all really supportive. My family is supportive. That's what gives me the get up and go to look at different avenues and aspects of how I can stay out here. And it's sad to think that I'm doing that.
So was it almost like the massive high of coming out of prison and then bang, you're back to this anxiety of not knowing where you're at?
Literally that. Like, freedom's beautiful. And, you know, I'd never not, you know, appreciate that, let's say. But the reality of being free, the reality of having no safety net, having no additional support is scary for anybody. Whether you've done 12 years or you've done 12 months, it's a scary ordeal for people. And all I'm saying is, if we can use our journeys and our experiences and our cycles that we've gone through to make it that little bit easier for the next person, then I'm happy with that.
I think that's what it's about, though, isn't it? It's about
100%.
creating that change, because if you can do 10, 12 years, work for a prison-dedicated mental health charity for probably a year and a half, voluntary, the last 6 months, part-time paid, which, let's have it right, is peanuts.
Yeah.
You could have gone and worked for money. And if your probation on the outside can't see that and give you the hope you need with housing, and because we was all there when he was going through that, like we heard him in the office in the Monday morning meetings, like if you're not going to help someone that's doing all that work, they're like, I think it just goes to show you the system's fucked.
But
excuse my foot, it really is.
For me, this is what these podcasts and people like Brownie expose. Unless you've lived it, you think you see probation on the news, or we do this, we monitor and help this, that, the other. The reality is, and I can say this from experience, my probation officer on my last sentence says, "Mitch, I'm here to manage your risk." That is it.
That's right.
You come on the police national computer, we can't do nothing to help you strive in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I was the same as you, got out of a long sentence, and I was like, wow, I've had all these plans and probation was going to help, and the reality was, no. Until you're coming on the police radar, ta-da. And it was from high to like, boy, this is my reality now.
But that's the craziest thing about it. So what you're saying there is basically they've got to manage risk. So they need to look at reasons to stop you from coming back to prison. But then from all aspects. But then there's nothing that's implicated.
No.
So what are they doing? Are they just waiting for the sideline for you to slip, trip and fall?
Yeah, so do you think you've been set up to fail?
Yeah.
Been set up to fail.
That's how it kind of feels.
Because if you're doing wrong, they want to help you. But if you're doing right, they won't help you.
Yeah. And you can do 1,000 good things, but one bad thing will tip the balance.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's not working. Something's got to give.
And in your case, with IPP, which I know there's loads of new stuff about it, and there's a program now on it. But me and Aaron make a mistake and we're released. We're going to probation, or nothing's really a silly mistake. You two make a silly little daft mistake, like
what you got to do a year,
calling someone or getting into an altercation where you've not even put hands on, and then someone said you've done something and you haven't, and you get arrested. You're in prison and got to sit parole board again.
The reality is, a quick one. I came back off of IPP, doing another big sentence. Now that's my own fault. Fully knew what I was doing. I've done now 6 out of a 10. So I got 10 for conspiracy to rob again. There's people on recall. We've all bumped into them. Shuffs, my other pal Coxie. The guy got kicked out of a hostel for he got caught with weed. Shouldn't have done it. Not the biggest offence. He's done 3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Shuffs has done 2 years for
a spliff.
For a spliff and for poor behaviour.
Yeah,
so I've
literally.
done 6 out of 10. These guys have done 3 years for basically nothing.
It's crazy.
Recall on IPP is not
It's
a
literally
joke.
crazy.
They got to abolish that in there. They got to get rid of IPP in there.
They won't.
And that's why, like you just said then, Chappie, there's all these things that are coming up. I'm at the point now where if I see a program on it, I turn it over. If I see it in the paper, I turn the page.
You're sick of it?
I am sick of it, and I've read and I've listened to it throughout the whole of my sentence, and it's just false hope over and over and over again. Nobody wants to be liable for the sentence. Nobody wants to give a helping hand. They're probably thinking about us all running to go get compensation, and that's our only worry.
Yeah.
They don't want to put money into sending everyone back to court and re-sentencing people. The government don't want to do that.
And on top of that, sorry, Chappie, me and your mum were speaking about this. It's public perception. It's scaremongering.
Yeah.
By the media, by the state of what does it look like if we have to put in the paper, we've let a load of IPPs out on retrospect of a mistake. We can't admit that.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be liable.
Yeah, so...
Oh, yeah, on that. And I think that's what it boils down to at the end of the day is public perception and government will. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, to Joe Bloggs, who's never been around any criminals or criminal activity, it's like, well, I don't want them being helped or they shouldn't be allowed out. So you're the government, you want to get into power and you want to keep your MP seat. So why are you going to vote for something that is going against the whole following
mainstream.
of... Yeah, the mainstream, that's the word, following the mainstream of lock them up and throw away the key. Because it goes down to their selfish... And that's why I don't... For me personally, politics, I'm not into because they all do the same thing. The whole thing needs to be thrown away, restructured, because you're out for yourself. You've got an individual that's representing a load of people that he just wants to get back into, or he or she wants to get back into power. Because they all know the system don't work. And it hasn't worked for years and years and years and years. Every governor will tell you it doesn't work. But why is it not being changed?
Why don't we get a public perception on how the prisons are run? That'd be funny, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Let's get public perception on the classes that we're meant to do to change. Let's get public perception on how the jails are run, how admins run. Because we know what it's like in prison.
And I don't think people realise.
They don't realise because what's shown on media or what's shown on all these videos of these guys that are in jail on their iPhones and whatnot, and I have been part of the bunch, I will raise my hand there, is us sat chilling on Xboxes and PlayStations and this and that, and that's not really
That's not the reality.
It's not the reality of it. 9 times out of 10, alright, cool, a lot of people are patterning when they've got a phone, they're trying to do whatever, get drugs into the prison, whatever. I was never one of them people. I literally had my phone to ring my family, to have normality, to have normal conversations, and speak to my cousins, whoever. That's why I had a phone personally. Now, I have patterned in jail, whatever, but that's not why I had the phone. Now, people think that jail's a walk in the park. It's not a walk in the park at all. It's hard fucking work, and it's getting harder and harder, as time goes on, because there's less money being put into jails, there's no mental health support in prisons, people are crying out, people in crises. It's a horrible place. Even the staff can't stand it.
No staff.
Even the staff cannot stand working in prisons. And any job that they get, they pass it on. We've seen it time and time and time again. Nobody wants to take liability or responsibility for the job that they've been given. So it's a shambles.
I suppose slowly wrapping this up because we've almost out of time. Is one, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to see yourself in a couple of years? You've got your office in Leeds now. Like, if you could click your fingers and that would be it, what does that look like? And secondly, what would your advice be to either your younger self, it doesn't even have to be a younger generation, it could be someone older, to people that was in your position and want to get in that headspace that you're clearly in now?
Yeah. So the answer to the first question, in an ideal world, hopefully I'll be fully passed on my driving license, I'll be doing my mobile outdoor boot camps, still working with Unlock My Life, working in the prisons, hopefully be at the point where I'm vetted, I've got a pair of keys so we can hold forums and meetings in the jails and just have a generalised chat and speak to the lads and let them know that I'm there and I'm a go-to and I'm a support for them. That'd be the ideal world. Like, obviously I probably have greater aspirations than that, but I'm a realist.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna keep it real.
And then, so what would the advice be to get to where you are now? Because you're clearly in a good headspace and going in the right place. What advice would you give to someone?
The first
How'd you
thing
get
I'd
there?
say to anybody is don't be a sheep, be a wolf, do what's right for you, try not to follow the crowd, don't look at what's going on social media, don't feel like you need to be somebody, just be your damn self, find what's important to you, find something that, you know, maybe it might start off as a hobby. For me it was a gym. Just find some sort of niche for you yourself and use that as a driving factor to get to where you want to be. And also be kind to yourself, be open-minded and know that there's support out there. And sometimes you just gotta reach out for it. And that's what it's about.
It's nice.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's a bit,
self-love around here, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. If you can't be yourself, then
so that,
you know what I mean?
I suppose firstly, thank you for sitting it and doing it. It's a proud moment. I don't mean that in a contradictory way, but
It's
I feel
good,
proud of you that you've got this far. And
thank you.
There's a lot of conversations in jail when you went. Would you like? Do you think he's gonna do it? Do you think he's gonna stick out?
I can imagine.
I honestly knew you would. Obviously, everyone's got a doubt, but like to see you here and for what I know of you and what you've been through, I think you smashed it. You're inspiration.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap. I want to say thank you again to Luke, Mitch, Aaron. Thanks for listening. You have been listening to the Mental Health Injustice podcast. We'll see you next week.